I'm back. Hi. So we're going on to chapter 22 now. The sea still rises. And like the other chapter, I've got some questions. This is a little shorter, so I'm going to divide it into two parts for you. The jail has been stormed, the Bastille, and the people are only really just getting started. They're satisfying their bloodlust, but there's more. There's more blood to come. So we'll hear more about that, okay? The sea still rises. Haggard Saint Antoine had had only one exultant week in which to soften his modicum of hard and bitter bread to such extent as he could, with the relish of fraternal embraces and congratulations, when Madame Defarge sat at her counter, as usual, presiding over customers. Madame Defarge wore no rose in her head, for the great brotherhood of spies had become, even in one short week, extremely chary of trusting themselves to the saint's mercies. The lamps across his streets had a portentously classic swing with them. Madame Defarge, with her arms folded, sat in the morning light and heat, contemplating the wine shop and the street. In both there were several knots of loungers, squalid and miserable, but now with a manifest sense of power enthroned on their distress. The raggedest nightcap, awry on the wretchedest head, had this crooked significance in it. Quote, I know how hard it has grown for me, the wearer of this, to support life in myself. But do you know how easy it has grown for me, the wearer of this, to destroy life in you? Every lean, bare arm that had been without work before had this work always ready for it now that it could strike. The fingers of the knitting women were vicious with the experience that they could tear. There was a change in the appearance of Saint Antoine. The image had been hammering into this for hundreds of years, and the last finishing blows had told mightily on the expression. Madame Defarge sat observing it, with such suppressed approval as was to be desired in the leader of the Saint Antoine women. One of her sisterhood knitted beside her, the short, rather plump wife of a starved grocer, and the mother of 2 children withal. This lieutenant had already earned the complimentary name of the Vengeance. Hark, said the Vengeance. Listen, then. Who comes? As if a train of powder laid from the outermost bound of the Saint Antoine quarter to the wine shop door had been suddenly fired, a fast-spreading murmur came rushing along. It is Defarge, said Madame. Silence, patriots. Defarge came in breathless, pulled off a red cap he wore, and looked around him. Listen everywhere, said Madame again. Listen to him. Defarge stood, panting against the background of eager eyes and open mouths formed outside the door. All those within the wine shop had sprung to their feet. Say then, my husband, what is it? News from the other world. How then? Cried Madame contemptuously. The other world? Does anybody here recall old Foulon, who told the famished people that they might eat grass, and who died, and who went to hell? Exactly, from all throats. The news is of him. He is among us. Among us, from the universal throat again. And dead? Not dead. He feared us so much, and with reason, that he caused himself to be represented as dead, and had a great mock funeral. But they have found him alive, hiding in the country, and they have brought him in. I have seen him but now, on his way to the Hôtel de Ville, a prisoner. I have said that he had reason to fear us. Say all. Had he reason? Wretched old sinner of more than 80 years and 10, if he had never known it yet, he would have known it in his heart of hearts if he had heard the answering cry. A moment of profound silence followed. Defarge and his wife looked steadfastly at one another. The Vengeance stooped, and the jar of a drum was heard as she moved it at her feet behind the counter. Patriots, said Defarge in a determined voice, are we ready? Instantly Madame Defarge's knife was in her girdle. The drum was beating in the streets, as if it had had a hammer had flown together by magic, and the Vengeance, uttering terrific shrieks and flinging her arms about her head like all the 40 furies at once, was tearing from house to house, rousing the women. The men were terrible in the bloody-minded anger with which they looked from windows, caught up what arms they had, and came pouring down into the streets. But the women were a sight to chill the boldest. From such household occupations as their bare poverty yielded, from their children, from their aged and their sick, crouching on the bare ground, famished and naked, they ran out with streaming hair, urging one another and themselves to madness with the wildest cries and actions. Villain Foulon, taken my sister! Old Foulon, taken! My mother! Miscreant Foulon, taken! My daughter! Then a score of others ran into the midst of these, beating their breasts, tearing their hair, and screaming, Foulon alive! Foulon, who told the starving people they might eat grass. Foulon, who told my old father that he might eat grass when I had no bread to give him. Foulon, who told my baby it might suck grass when these breasts went dry with want. O Mother of God, this Foulon, O Heaven, are suffering. Hear me, my dead baby and my withered father. I swear on my knees, on these stones, to avenge you on Foulon. Husbands and brothers and young men, give us the blood of Foulon. Give us the head of Foulon. Give us the heart of Foulon. Give us the body and soul of Foulon. Rend Foulon to pieces and dig him into the ground that grass may grow from him. With these cries, numbers of women, lashed into blind frenzy, whirled about, striking and tearing at their own friends until they dropped into a passionate swoon, and were only saved by the men belonging to them from being trampled underfoot. Nevertheless, not a moment was lost, not a moment. This Foulon was at Hotel de Ville and might be loosed. Never, if Saint Antoine knew his own sufferings, insults, and wrongs. Armed men and women flocked out of the quarters so fast, and drew even these last dregs with them with such a force of suction, that within a quarter of an hour there was not a human creature in Saint Antoine's bosom, but a few old crones and the wailing children. No, they were all by that time choking the hall of examination where this old man, ugly and wicked, was, and overflowing into the adjacent open space and streets. The Defarges, husband and wife, the Vengeance, and Jacques III were in the first press, and at no great distance from him in the hall. I'm going to stop there.